Walking around the city with no precise destination in mind, a female demon gets the smell of a meal. It's not just any other meal, but it's the only meal with access to take her to the world of immortality. After she attempts to confirm the smell in the best way she can, she immediately sets to the business of finding where the smell is coming from, and she runs there. Meanwhile, the eternal body himself, Chen Chang'an, is lying helplessly by a side of the temples, and he feels so hungry he thinks of many of the food available for him to eat. Other travelers sing all the way to invincibility, but he decides to go to the world of immortality, but his meridians are blocked. The old man teaches him and tells him that he is actually a good set, but he is actually crippled. The man tells him that he isn't useless, he is a legendary eternal body, and if he is eaten, he will ascend to immortality. He thinks about his positives and negatives. He feels it is fine if he can't cultivate immortality. The thief god has also added the Tang Seng to him, and the Tang Seng is something that helps monsters and demons get stronger and immortal. As a result of the great benefits that come from eating Chang'an, several monsters and demons try to plunder him. They attack him on various attempts, so much so that his body and soul get injured. The sect was also attacked, and the old man had no other choice than to break through the void and hide him inside the void so he will survive. He is tired of this life he is living, and he wonders why the other travelers get to enjoy life, but he is only a lamb to the slaughter because of his amazing physique. He screams at the thief god, saying that he is a very wicked person without a heart, and that if the thief god has the ability to command lightning, then he should command lightning to kill him because he is tired. He immediately sees the sky changing. It seems like there is going to be a thunder strike as he has asked for. He realizes that he is overreacting due to what he is presently feeling and knows the thief god doesn't really care. He immediately bows down and says that he is just joking. He knows that screaming, shouting, and anything that happens with it doesn't change much. He decides he should sleep for a while so he can save calories for the next day. He hopes that maybe when he wakes up the next morning, the old man will have kicked all the monsters and demons that are looking for him and bring him roasted chicken. As he rests on the floor, the female demon who has been looking for him sees him. She whispers to his ears and asks him if he wishes to spend that spring night with his slave. He screams at her. He tells her that she scared him and asks her how she got entrance into the house. She kisses him, and when she tastes his blood, she confirms that he is really an eternal body because that is how eternal bodies taste. Chang'an feels like he is a 7-foot man. He sees that she is really hungry and she is strong, but men must learn to protect themselves when they are in trouble. He pushes her and tells her to go to hell. She stands up from his body and looks at him seductively, asking him if that's how he wants it. She comes at him again and tries to pin him to the floor. He begs her. He tells her they are progressing too fast and they should stop and talk about life and the future first because they get to the stage she wants. She asks him what he is waiting for and tells him that the slave is waiting. He tells her that before he will allow her to do anything to him, he needs to be sure that she is at least human. He asks her if she is a human or a demon. She asks him if he thinks she is a slave or a demon. He sees her in a demon face and he assumes that she is a demon. He is very shocked, especially because the old man told him before he left the temple that he has set a ban on the temple and demons and ghosts couldn't enter the temple. He warns him before leaving that he should remain at that temple and shouldn't go so he will be fine, and he should wait for him. The ghost gets nearer to him and tells him that he should give her his eternal body. He struggles with her as he watches her open her long teeth to eat and drink his blood. She rests by his neck and starts sucking. He wonders what has happened. He wonders if he is dying again. He has been hiding for 3 years, running away for his life, and in the end, she will eventually die. He gets a system notification which tells him that the system has detected that the host encounters a ghost and opens the Invincible domain system for the host. The domain system is a round area with a diameter of 2 meters around an unprovoked area. He doesn't know what the system means. What he knows about the invincible field is that within the diameter of 2 meters, he will be invincible, and he is going to be the master of the field. He sees that he has gained extra powers, and he checks his portal. His system level is 1, and his name is Chen Chang'an. He doesn't have a realm or special functions, and his field value is 0. He is glad that he has gotten a special feature. He had always wondered why a traverser like him wouldn't have a golden finger. He hits the demon back. She couldn't have expected that he will have that much energy to hit her. She screams and wonders what he has done. He tells her that she has done everything she wants to do and it is his turn to fight back. He says that he wants to see how strong the invincible field is. She wonders if he had just fought her back and wonders how he got the strength to do it. She asks him if he thinks that, as a person, he can beat her. There is no way he can ever beat her, she says. After all, everything he will do is to tickle her with his attacks. She tells him there is nothing he can do and it will be less painful for him if he lies down and allow her to eat him. He isn't discouraged by her bragging. He tells her that she should come and they will see who is the strongest among them. He hits her, and with just one hit the earth trembles and he finishes her. He is shocked. He wonders if he is dreaming and says that it has to be a dream. He realizes that it isn't a dream and he really beats her. He is glad that he no longer has to run away from the demons again because he is now strong. He says his time of fleeing is finally over. He gets more system notifications. He sees that he had obliterated a Kai training triple heaven female ghost, and as a reward he has gained 10 field points. He doesn't know what they mean by field points and what it is used for. The system explains that every Every 100 points of field value can be increased by 1 meter, and his current diameter in the domain is 2 meters. He knows he will need more field value, and he wonders how he will get more field value. He feels if his invincible field can be increased to cover the whole continent, then he can directly rule the entire continent. The system tells him that he needs to explore the way he can obtain more field value. He gets angry at the system. He says the system is so irresponsible, and the system doesn't have any sense of experience, because if it does, it shouldn't have allowed him to start exploring on his own, and he will guide him on how to do it. He is also hungry, and he lies on the floor. He notices that the sky is broken. He wonders what could have broken the sky and assumes it will be a terrifying immortal power. He wonders if an immortal treasure falls to the lower world. He assumes a treasure is falling down, and wonders if the world is going into chaos again. It's all happening at the upper world Chuanwu immortal world. An immortal sword is seen falling down to the lower world, and a general recognizes it as the holy immortal sword of our Lord. The general calls the 12 immortal generals and screams that they get the hell out of there. Immortal demons fly to earth. The general orders all the immortals that the sword that has fallen is the 10,000 years old immortal weapon that his father sacrificed in the sword casting tower and was attached by an unknown fist shadow, and it's now left behind in the lower world. So he is ordering them based on his father's order that they must do all they can to retrieve the sword. Also, anyone who has taken the sword after it fell on earth, the person should be killed. On earth, Chang'an wakes up hungry. He hisses repeatedly, and he wonders what he can do. He says he was so hungry that he fainted, and what he is doing through is quite embarrassing. He feels he needs to eat some soil to fill his belly. He feels bad about eating dirt and says he isn't too hungry and that he will eat dirt in the 21st century. He says that the more he lives, the more he goes back to thinks he goes back. However, he can't leave that temple to be responsible. The old man has laid down laws and restrictions for him to keep staying, and if he obeys those restrictions, there is no way demons can enter the temple. However, a female demon with Kai refining was able to enter. He wonders what has gone wrong and if he has done something against the restriction. He is more hungry than thinking about anything at the moment. He has no cultivation base for him to grow food, and he knows the old man is going to be in trouble if he leaves his base, but he can't help it. The only thing that can make him remain in that temple is if the domain can move with his hosts. He decides to try it and see if he can move his domain. However, immediately he takes his hand out of the domain meter. The domain closes up, and he runs back inside the domain, terrified that it is too cold and terrifying outside the field, and he feels there could be a ghost hidden outside the domain and waiting for him. When he steps out, he has confirmed that the domain doesn't move with the host. He thinks it has to be a bug, as it's better if the domain could move. He wonders how the system can have a bug. He has two worries at the moment. The first is the duty to fill his stomach with food as a human, and the second is that he needs to get more field value so he can increase his domain. Suddenly, he sees a lady jump into his temple. He hits her head and throws her out of his domain, and she screams that the hit hurts her. Suddenly, another elder, the great elder of the evil dragon cavern Lai Zio, enters into the temple. He talks to the girl, Ling Bayar, begging her that she should be honest with him and she shouldn't think of running away again, otherwise he will slap her to death. She talks to him and tells him that if he really has the ability, he should hit her to death, and he will see how her father will react and clean him up. Chang'an sees that both of them are monks, and he decides to run, saying that when monks fight, it's the mortal that suffers, and he is a kind-hearted man, so he won't interfere in the fight between them. As he is about to run away, he remembers his hunger issues. He feels like the reason those monks may want to fight is that they have something to eat, so they can give him something, so he calls out to them so they can help him. Bayar realizes he is still there. She sees that he is immortal, and she asks him why he is still there. He tells them that the temple they are in is the territory of his master and asks them who gave them the permission to come in. He screams at them, telling them they came into his territory, yammering and making a hell of noises without his permission. He tells them the only way they can make it up to him is to give him food. Bayar looks at him and asks him if he wants to die. She tells him that Lai Zio is too violent and he doesn't like jokes, so Chang'an should stop with those jokes if he doesn't want to die. Lai Zio looks at Chang'an and asks if he really wants compensation. He tells him that he is just a beggar who is waiting to die, and he tells him that he should be reborn as a beast in his next life and he will take care of his mouth. Lai Zio goes nearer to Chang'an to kill him, and Chang'an runs away. He says that he hasn't even tried to kill Lai Zio yet, but Lai Zio wants to kill him. He asks him if he thinks he is still in his old self, where everyone can kill and pinch. Bayar wonders what had happened. She wonders if the attack had just disappeared in an instant. She asks how he had done it, and since he is just a mortal, that seems so impossible. Even Lai Zio doesn't understand what has happened. He says that he knows Chang'an is just a mortal and claims there is no reason Chang'an should be able to block his attack. He says he can understand if Chang'an crawls to avoid the attack, and he can't even dodge it because the attack is so hard that he can't dodge it, and he will die in an instant. He says he has been fighting for over a decade, and he has killed a lot of people, and except for situations when the energy consumption is too much, there is no other possibility for a mortal to block his attack. Chang'an gives Lai Zio the middle finger. He asks him if he thinks he could have killed him, and says he is standing right here, and if he can kill him, he will get on his knees and sing him congratulations. hands. Lai Xiao doesn't also want to accept defeat. He says that he doesn't care who Chang'an is and what power he carries, but if he really wants to die, he will help him out and give him a smooth death. He throws another attack at Chang'an, but Chang'an disperses it again. He waits in his invincible field and waits for Lai Xiao to find him at that spot because he knows that immediately Lai Xiao enters the field, his life and death will be in Chang'an's hands. He raises his hand to catch the weapon Lai Xiao has thrown, so he will drag him inside. Bayar still wonders what is happening. She wonders if Chang'an wants to hold a magic weapon in his empty hand. Lai Xiao also feels that's impossible. He has thrown the Scarlet Scimitar, and the weapon is a third-class magic weapon. It is extremely sharp, and he knows that there is no way a mere mortal who uses flesh and blood to grasp can hold it unless he is looking for death. However, to their shock, Chang'an uses just his middle finger to hold it. He says that he has gotten Lai Xiao in his grasp. Bayar is shocked. She can't expect Chang'an will catch the weapon with just 2 fingers, and he addresses Lai Xiao as a young man, telling him that he should rest well in his next life. He uses his palm to hit Lai Xiao, and Lai Xiao dies. He gets a system notification that he has killed a 3rd level Golden Core Realm cultivator, and he has earned a reward of 500 points. He figures that in addition to killing a ghost, killing monks can also earn him points. The point he has gotten for killing Lai Xiao is so much, and he wonders that if killing a Golden Core Realm can earn him 500 points, then what will he get if he kills a nascent soul realm, the Transcendent, God Realm, or even the Earth Immortal? He figures that the higher the cultivator level of the cultivator that he kills, the higher the field value he will get. His system tells him that he currently has 510 points. He asks the system what he can use the points for, and the system tells him he could use them to expand his domain by 5 meters. The system says that he hopes that Chang'an will also continue to work so he can gain more field value. Chang'an screams happily. Bayar, who watched as everything had happened, she wonders how the great elder of the evil dragon cavern was killed by a mere mortal. She thinks about the possibility of Chang'an being a worldly expert who is hiding in the Shiwandashan mountain. He calls out for Bayar, who is still shocked. She calls Chang'an Sr., and she tells him her main mission to Earth. When the vision of heaven and Earth broke out that day, the sect suspected that there was an immortal treasure coming to Earth, so she brought the disciple of the 9 Sword sect to come and confirm their assumption. She doesn't know she will bump into Lai Xiao on her way. He realizes that he doesn't even know her name, but before she can ask, she continues with her narration. She tells him that except from her, the other sect members that she brought along to the world has died in the hands of Lai Xiao, and she thanks Chang'an for saving her life. She says that if he hadn't interrupted, she would have been captured by Lai Xiao and taken to the evil dragon cavern. She tries to ask him who he is, and tells him that since he could kill Lai Xiao, who has the strength of the Golden Core, does that mean Chang'an is in Nascent Soul Realm? However, she still feels that's impossible because, in Yuzhu, there was nobody in the Nascent Soul Realm for hundreds of years. With all her explanations, he has realized that she isn't his accomplice. He shows her the storage ring he has taken from Lai Xiao and asks her if it can be opened. He throws it to her, and she explains to him that after the death of the ring owner, the mask will be dissipated, and the ring has been unowned, so it's possible for them to open the ring. He is glad about that, but his major problem is food, so he asks her if he can get something to eat in the storage ring. She tells him yes, and she opens the ring for him. He sees roasted chicken there. He is super excited. With his first problem being sorted, his next problem is how he will extend the domain. His domain is now covering the temple, and the next thing he needs to do is to obtain more fields and expand the domain to the entire cultivation world. As he eats happily, Bayar kneels in front of him and wonders what is wrong with her, and she tells him that since he saved her, she thinks she has a destiny with him, and she asks him if he will like to take her as a disciple. Chang'an screams. She assumes it's because he feels she isn't capable, and she tries to convince him that she is actually capable. She insists that she will do anything to appreciate him for saving her life, and if he doesn't want to take her as a disciple, he should please allow her to stay by his side, and she will ensure she supports him. She believes that he is a powerful protector that she should hold on to, but if only she knows that he is also very weak and just got sudden power. He uses his hands to hold her from coming closer to him. He tells her she doesn't need to serve him in any way or repay him, and he says he just saved her, by the way, and he doesn't need any extra efforts from her, although he also wishes he could take her as a disciple because at least she would be able to help him a bit, but he is also weak, and he is just relying on the powers of the domain, so he doesn't have anything to teach her even if he accepts to let her stay. Is he going to teach her to play the mahjong game or the landlord? It's best he doesn't mislead anyone under the pretense that he has powers. He also still has a problem, and it's the domain. He can't move with the domain. He doesn't have a cultivation field, and he doesn't have food and water, so he has to go out and find food. But since he has no cultivation, going out is just like he is inviting death to himself, so he really needs a tool to help him. He feels it will be profitable for him to accept her, and to do that, he has to pretend like he is really powerful. He starts addressing her as a little girl and tells her he has come across the immortal world for 10,000 years. He tells her those who want to worship him as their master must cross the 6 paths of reincarnation. So he asks her what qualification she thinks she has that should make him accept her as his disciple. She is dumbfounded, she doesn't even feel like she qualifies, but he tells her that they have a destiny together, so he will reluctantly give her a chance to prove herself. He will take her as a registered disciple and will give her a test. After she passes the test, he will then take her as his real disciple. That sounds like a good option to her. She bows down to him and gives him her respect as his servant. She feels like with her master's teaching, her strength will increase by leaps and bounds. Suddenly, Chang'an gets another notification. The system notifies him that they have registered a Bayar as his disciple, and they are now bound by the master-disciple relationship, and his reward for that relationship is 100 field value. He screams. He never knew that accepting disciples can also grant him that great amount of field value, and he is glad that he has unlocked another way in which he can get field values for himself. Bayar doesn't see what he is seeing, so she doesn't know why he is that happy. She asks him what is wrong with him, but coming nearer to him, she starts coughing, and she has no other choice but to ask him how long it was since he last took his bath or took a shower. He commands her that she should take a vat outside the temple, and when the rain falls and fills the var, he will use the water to have his bath. She goes to do what he has instructed her, and he also tries to smell himself, and he sees how horrible he is really smelling. His smell chokes him, and he feels he is high on drugs. Bayar takes the vat out as her master has commanded him. She looks at the cloud, and she sees that rain is about to fall. The cloud changes except for a part of it, and when she checks, she sees that a monster is there. She immediately runs inside and announces to her master that something bad is happening. She tells him what is happening isn't good and narrates that there is a tiger demon of the golden core stage outside the temple hiding from them. Instead of being scared that an enemy is outside of the temple, Chang'an is excited. A tiger demon of the golden core stage, for that matter, and he is imagining the amount of field value he will get after telling this demon. He says that the value of that field wouldn't be as he thinks, and he excitedly tells Bayar that she should follow her master so they can go tiger hunting. The tiger also thinks of what to do. He introduces himself as a golden core tiger demon and tells them that he was attracted to that place by the great smell. He further says that when he arrived at that place, he saw that Chang'an killed a ghost with his casserole-sized fist, and he also killed a person. He feels it will be terrible for him to also go to meet them, and he wants to leave. However, the smell he has been getting from there is so great that it drills into his mouth. Knowing so well that he can't leave the domain to fight the tiger, Chang'an is left with the dilemma of how he can bring the tiger to the domain without bait. He remembers that there is no demon in the world who can resist the smell of his delicious eternal body, and his body is enough bait to get the tiger to his side. He puts his hand outside the domain to lure the tiger with his flesh. Bayar thinks he is applying a technique, and since she wants to know more about how he works, she asks him what the technique he is using it. The tiger can no longer take the smell. He screams about how delicious the scent is and how fragrant it is, saying that he can't take it anymore and he has to go get a bite of the delicious food. He jumps out of his hiding place, not knowing that he is jumping into a trap. When they see the tiger coming, Bayar warns her master to be careful. On the other hand, Chang'an is excited. The tiger comes towards him with great positivism, claiming that even if he becomes crippled that day, he must taste that eternal food he really wants to eat, and he jumps towards the domain. But his body subconsciously stops. He wonders how his body has stopped beyond his control, and Chang'an addresses him. He asks what bad thought can a cat has then to eat people, but unfortunately for the tiger, it is him that he wants to eat. He asks the tiger to contribute his body. Bayar doesn't understand what is happening. She asks him if he has just handled a tiger demon without leaving a spot, and he tells her that tiger demons are just a tiny thing to him. He asks her to kill the tiger for him, and she gets into action immediately. She brings out her magic sword and tells him that worshipping him is the only thing she must do, and she must hold his tights properly. However, when she tries to stab the tiger with her sword, she can't get it done. She wonders what has happened, and she calls out for Chang'an, who, although she doesn't know what's happening, decides to be optimistic and tries to go ahead with the stabbing. He slashes the tiger's body, and the tiger dies immediately. He gets a system notification that he has killed the tiger demon of the 8th level of Golden Core, and he has gained 800 field value. He shows Bayar his strength, telling her that it's better than burn. She is amazed beyond words, and she is shocked that he has killed a tiger with a single slash. The system tells Chang'an that he now has enough field value to upgrade his domain, so he goes to face that and tells Bayar that he will leave her to take care of the tiger's body. He gives her the sword back and instructs her to cut the tiger's meat like it's a pig. He figures that his system can be upgraded, and he thinks of what he can do with a system upgrade. The system tells him that the current Invincible domain status is version 1.0, and its only feature is Invincible strength. Since he has enough field value to upgrade the Invincible domain status, he can upgrade to version 2.0, and that will open to him a new function, which is all living things. He turns to Bayar and tells her that the tiger whip is a good thing and he needs it, so she should put it away for him without losing it. He returns to the system, and he wonders what skill is called for all living things. Instead of gelling him the answer, the system tells him he will naturally know what the skill is used for after he upgrades. Despite not knowing the use, he decides to upgrade regardless. The system status upgrading starts, and after the upgrade finishes, he finds out what the skill is. He is excited because because the skill is so awesome. The system explains the use of the skill for him, and with the skill, he can illuminate the vitality of all things and give birth to wisdom. In addition, he can control everything in the Invincible domain in a subtle way. He calls Bayar, telling her to pull out 2 small glasses for him. She leaves the tiger she is dealing with and immediately goes to get the glasses for him. He wants to see if the function of all things living is actually as powerful as the system has said it is. She brings 2 types of grass to him, and he collects them. He holds them and controls them, and they change. Bayar wants to see what is happening well, so she goes nearer to him, and it scares him. She sees that it has changed, and she asks him how the weed suddenly became spirit herbs of an elixir level. He pushes her away, asking her why she is rushing to gain the knowledge. He asks her to go away. He continues what he is doing, and it looks like the weeds are boxed in a transparent box. He considers that if he gets it that way, he isn't sure if it will work. Bayar keeps looking at him and wondering what he is doing. They continue with that for some minutes, and he tells her not to make noise. After some minutes, the box breaks, and the weeds divide into 2. A creature comes out of the leaves, and it's a little human-looking weed female. Bayar is glad. She couldn't have imagined that what Chang'an was doing could have worked. She screams and shouts that the weed transformed, but he tells her that she shouldn't shout too loud because if she does, she will scare the little creature away. The next thing he has on his agenda to do is to gift Bayar. He throws a circle of magic items at her, telling her to take it. He says it's the gift of worship, and the elixir contains the essence of life. He asks her to take it and tells her it will protect her. She is excited and appreciates him for giving it to her. She promises him that she will definitely not let down his expectations. He goes to address the little creature he has created. He welcomes her and tells her he will call her Xiaoban from that day on. With all he has done in front of Bayar, she is too excited. She is shocked that he is so strong that a weed can turn into a spiritual elixir in his hand. She takes the elixir he gave her, and she swallows it, and immediately she does that. She breaks through the spiritual power. Chang'an receives a notification that Bayar has broken through from the 6th level of the Foundation building to the 7th level of the Foundation building. As a result of his disciple's promotion, he will get a 50 field value. He goes to check on her and sees her meditating in a place covered with fire. He wonders if it's okay for him to get field value for Bayar's promotion, but the system informs him that since they have formed a master-disciple relationship, as long as Bayar breaks through the realm, he will get some field value as a reward, and the higher the cultivation base, the more field level he will get. He imagines himself as a teacher with many disciples. At least, all he needs to do is to gather many disciples and watch them grow and pass through realms. That way, he will get field values without a doubt anything. He feels that if he gets disciples, he wouldn't have any worries about expanding the field value of his Invincible domain again. He has tried the first ability of his skill. He wonders if the second ability of the new skill is also as valuable as the first one. As he thinks about what value he could get from the second ability of all living things skill, they see the sky open, and a sword falls into the temple. Since that's the sword that has sent Bayar from the sect in the first place, she recognizes it immediately. She wonders if that could really be the descending immortal treasure that has been rumored about. He really doesn't know about the immortal treasure, so he asks her what immortal treasure she is talking about. She explains to him that the night before, someone punched the sky and made a hole, and when her father went to check the spot, he found out that an immortal sword has fallen from the hole, and all the parties around the world are looking for the sword. While he claims that it is a pity that he could see the hole in the sky with his own eyes, he goes to check the sword. He holds the sword, but the sword doesn't seem like the hyped sword. He feels the sword is light, and it looks so weak. He wonders if he could repair the sword with his own skills, and he sets out to do that immediately. He calls the elixir he has created, and she immediately repairs the old, weak sword into a very beautiful and strong one. When Bayar looks at the new version, she is shocked because of how beautiful it looks. Chang'an holds the sword after it has been repaired, and it seems like the sword now looks heavier and stronger than it was when he first took it. He still isn't impressed with how strong the sword is. He is disappointed that the sword Bayar is hyped about, which she thinks is an immortal sword, is that useless, and he asks her if she wants the sword. He says he will give it to her if she wants it, and when she requests it, he throws it to her. Immediately she holds it. The sword shows fire signs, while Chang'an still feels the sword is horrible. She thinks the sword has so much terrifying power, and her master just didn't pay attention to the powers of the sword. She wonders what level Chang'an's power has reached for him to think he doesn't need that legendary sword. On the other hand, she is also happy that he has given that sword to her, and she bows to appreciate him. She tells him that he is so kind to her, and despite all the power he has, he still treats her with high esteem, and she is so touched to have a master like him. He tells her he will help her again as a master, and he calls the creature he has created to repair the hole in the roof, which has been destroyed when the sword fell into their temple. You can imagine how happy Bayar is. She looks at the roof and exclaims that the roof has been repaired. Chang'an not only repairs the room, it's more like he repairs the entire temple to befit his status. After the renovation, he looks at the temple and the environment, and Bayar that an environment like that is only suitable for a worldly person like him to live. Bayar is practically in a daze. She keeps looking around because she is short of words. Chang'an notices her surprised face and tells her she shouldn't be in a daze all night, and that they must rest first. The little little creature he created falls asleep immediately. He wonders why the little thing is sleeping that fast and wonders if it is already weak when it was created some minutes ago. Suddenly, the ceiling they had just repaired breaks again, and another demon jumps into their temple. The demon recognizes Bayar as one of the people of the Nine Sword Sect. He asks her how she is still alive because they had thought all the people of the Nine Sword Sects had been killed. The demon is the lord of the evil dragon cavern Libation. He is of the 9 level of the Golden Core Realm. He tells them they should call Lai Zio out for him and ask him if the immortal treasure is in his hand. Immediately Bayar sees the truth. She runs behind Chang'an. She tells him that the man is Libation and he is the desperate master. She narrates to him that the people of the evil dragon cavern are there to get revenge for the death of their own. The other men enter the temple to search for Lai Zio, and they return to report to Libation that Lai Zio is missing, who immediately figures that since Lai Zio is missing, it means the immortal treasure they are looking for is in the hands of the people of Nine Sword Sect. He wonders why the treasure landed in that temple, and he says the temple is rich in spiritual energy, which explains why the people from the heavens have chosen that place as the place the immortal treasure should land. It looks like the only enemy Bayar and Chang'an will have won't be Libation, only as when they look towards the door, they see another troop led by the Q Kyantu, the leader of the Ghost Bones sect. Q Kyantu enters the building and looks at the environment. He claims he had never thought there would be such a majestic treasure in that broken mountain, and he wonders if the great environment is a reward brought by the immortal treasure which has fallen there. When Libation sees Q Kyantu, he knows he has gotten another enemy too. He feels fighting with the people of the Nine Sword Sect was okay for him, but he had never expected the old poison of the Ghost Bones sect to come too. Q Kyantu sees the transformation of spirit grass that Chang'an has created. He is amazed because he didn't expect to see one there. He wants everything for himself and says he will take the treasured island, the transformation spirit grass, and everything he finds there. Libation, who doesn't want him to have everything for himself, sets out to fight him. He argues with Q Kyantu that he was there first, and everything that is on that island belongs to him and his sect, so Q Kyantu should leave immediately. Q Kyantu laughs at him. He tells him that it isn't up to him to decide who will take everything there, and if Libation wants everything on the island, he has to fight for it. However, it seems like Libation is also ready for a fight. He knows Q Kyantu won't go down easily, so he tells Q Kyantu that if he wants to fight, then they should fight. After watching them argue over who will take his hand, Chang'an eventually interferes. He asks them why they think they can argue about who will take the land without first asking about the real owner of the treasured land. He is more angry at Libation, who had jumped into his property after breaking his roof. He tells them he isn't very open-hearted and doesn't want visitors. Libation looks at him ridiculously, asking him who is the owner of the precious land, and asks if it's just him or if there is any other person with him. He sets out to fight and tells Chang'an that from that day, the owner of that land will be him and no one else, so Chang'an should be ready to release the land for him. He claims he can demolish whatever he wants, and no one can stop him from doing whatever he wishes to do. He asks Chang'an what he will do to him if he takes the land away from him. Q Kyantu is also in the mood to brag. He calls out all his magical powers, telling them that they should take a look at those mirrors and they will see that the piece of land can only belong to the Ghost Bone sect and no one else. While Bayar is scared because she knows how strong the two sects leaders are, Chang'an is rest assured. He tells them that their attitudes of not taking other people into consideration are annoying him, and he can see from their attitudes and acts that they are only there to give him more field value and he will appreciate them for their generosity. However, he is concerned that they aren't inside his domain and he also can't go outside to meet them. His courage gives Bayar courage too. She stands courageously telling the sect's leaders what is with their attitudes. She tells them her master is the most terrifying creator on earth and he defeats Lai Zio with just a hit. Chang'an also admits to her brag, and their brags call the attention of Libation, who is actually looking for Lai Zio. He replies to them, asking them if they are indeed the ones who defeated and killed Lai Zio. Chang'an takes his face away mindlessly. He tells Libation that Lai Zio got up but got seconded by him, and he killed him. He asks Libation what he is going to do with that information. At that point, it is obvious that Bayar is scared, knowing that Chang'an is just a mere mortal. Libation doesn't believe him. He tells him that they have been cultivating for many years, and Chang'an shouldn't think he doesn't know the tricks of mortals who pretend to be so strong so they can get protection. He refuses to fall for Chang'an pretense, and he leaves Q Kyantu to face Chang'an. He tells Chang'an that a humble mortal like him isn't a good fit. He says he doesn't know how many pinch dead, and he doesn't want to know as it's needless to say. He brings out his magical seal, and he shows them. He tells Chang'an that there are thousands of mortal souls that he has personally cultivated into that seal, and Chang'an will join them. He asks Chang'an again if he really said he killed Lai Zio. Q Kyantu is no longer interested in the long talks between Libation and Chang'an. All he is interested in is the treasure and the immortal sword, and he is sure he is going home with the two that day. He asks Libation if he wants to take the lead in the fight, but Q Kyantu tells Chang'an that if he hands over the immortal treasure that is with him, he will allow him to leave that place intact. Chang'an looks at them stupidly. Do they really mean that he should hand it over, irrespective of their bragging? Both Libation and Q Kyantu Kyantu are jumping into his domain together without him trying to lure them in any way, so that's simple work for him. Bayar remains proud of her master. She asks them why they are talking to her master that way, and she screams that they should shut up, but Libation calls her name. He wonders where she has gotten the audacity to speak to him, and he asks her if she thinks because she is the daughter of the sect master of the 9 swords, then he won't kill her, because if that's what she thinks, he will kill her without thinking twice. Chang'an realizes that Libation knows Bayar, so she tells him that Libation is a bad old man. She tells him that the night before, when she went out to hunt for the immortal treasure along with her brothers from the 9 sword sect, Li Zio appeared to them midway and killed all her brothers. She also insists that Li Zio killed them based on Libation's order, so Libation is the real culprit. Well, it's not like Libation is denying what he has done. He also feels that there is nothing they can do for him. Bayar is really angry because of the death of her people. She says that if not that she can't beat Libation at the Golden Core realm, she would have ripped his head off and have given the head to her master. Libation gets angry because of her words and calls her a little bitch. He asks her if she wants to die and brings out his seal so he can kill them and put them in his seal. However, when he throws his cultivation seal into the domain, Chang'an gets into action. He tells them he controls everything in his invincible domain, including Libation's cultivation seal. He marks the seal and sends it out of the domain. Libation wonders what has happened. Something of such nature has never happened to him and he really can't believe that it is happening to him at that moment. He wonders what's going on with his cultivation. He screams new because he doesn't want his cultivation to get destroyed. Chang'an gets a notification that the cultivation base of the 3 invaders of the evil dragon cave has regressed to the Kai refining realm. He remembers that the Kai refining realm is the lowest cultivation base, followed by foundation building, golden core, then the highest of them all is the nascent soul realm. After the nascent soul realm, it remains the Mahayana transmigration or Earth Immortal, something like that. Since Bayar has an earlier issue with Libation, and she wishes to be the one who defeats him, her master decides to do her that honor. He tells her that since she can't beat him at the Golden Core realm, then he will help her suppress his cultivation to the Kai refining realm, which is the lowest realm, so she can beat him. Seeing how Chang'an has humiliated Libation, it calls Q Kyantu's attention to him. Q Kyantu looks at him and says he is obviously unremarkable and he has no cultivation base. At first glance, he sees him as a mere mortal, but he directly cuts through almighty Libation's cultivation base. Q Kyantu wonders how what had happened could be possible. Chang'an tells Bayar that he has created a great way for her to execute her perfect revenge, and Libation looks at Chang'an and wonders if he is also in the nascent soul realm because that is the only established realm that can defeat him. He calls him a bitch. He says that he is pretending to be a pig and he eats tiger. He insists that Chang'an is of the nascent soul realm. Chang'an also pretends to be a pig to mock him well. He says that with a thick face and the wall turned upside down, Libation can say whatever he wishes to say about him. Bayar gets into action to revenge for all Libation has done to her. She commands her Bayar beasts to fight with her. She says she will cut Libation, whip him, and cut him for her master. She runs to Libation, telling him that she wants to avenge for the death of her dead brothers, and she tries to stab him. He laughs at her. He tells her that even her father can't kill him, and she thinks she is the one with the audacity to kill him. He reminds her of his position as the master of the evil dragon sect, and even if his cultivation base is suppressed to the lowest level, it doesn't mean that he will be so weak and Bayar will be able to defeat him. He tells Bayar that he can strike her to death with just his storage ring, but she refuses to get scared, and she tells him he will die. Libation calls for the 4th rank golden scale treasure. He still feels Bayar can't defeat him until he sees the sword Bayar is holding in her hand. It's the immortal treasure itself. Immediately she uses the sword on Libation, and his entire body scatters. She is terrified about the strength of that sword, and she comments that the sword is so good and also very scary. As she holds it, Q Kyantu recognizes it as an immortal treasure. He recognizes the terrifying immortal power that emits from the sword and says it must be the immortal treasure. He screams that the immortal treasure that he is looking for is in Bayar's hand. Even in the distance that he is, he can instantly kill Bayar and take the treasure in her hand. He doesn't want her to have any time to fight him back, so his plan is that he will take the sword and go away while his ghost bone sex will finish the work. He has made a great plan, so he smiles because he knows it will work. Chang'an remembers he is still existing. He has forgotten about Q Kyantu when he was concentrating on Libation, and now that Libation is dead, Q Kyantu is the next target. Q Kyantu realizes he is a target, and if he had a little movement as he had planned, he would also die, so he decides that he will retreat that day. At least he already knows where the immortal treasure is, so it's better for him to go back and inform the great ancestors so they can make a decision. Bayar remembers that they are there. She tells them they were also disrespectful to her master, and she has to teach them lessons. She urges them to come to fight her so she can cut a few more people. She says they shouldn't be afraid of her because she is very kind with her sword, but nobody comes nearer to her. They all know how risky it will be to confront her, so they all retreat from the battle. She swings aimlessly, asking them why they are running, and in the process, she kills a few more people. Chang'an gets a notification that Bayar has killed 3 golden core cultivators, and they have gained 15 no more field value. Chang'an doesn't know that he could also get field value for Bayar's killing, and he feels excited about how he grows. He orders his system to use the field value in increasing the diameter of the domain, and he increases his meters to 22 meters. The system hopes that he keeps working hard and increasing his meters. Bayar comes to meet him, asking him what she should do to the people of the Ghostbone sect. The sect members are unable to escape again because the domain extension has trapped them inside the domain. Bayar advises that they chop off all the sect members of the Ghostbone sect. She tells him that their sect refines living people into ghost slaves and that they are evil sects. Q Kyantu realizes he is losing the fight, so he calls out to Bayar, asking her not to spill blood. He kneels in front of Chang'an to beg on behalf of his people. He says that his sect has been existing and operating for decades, and they are a decent sect and not evil as Bayar has called them. He says it's a misunderstanding between their sect and Bayar, and he apologizes to Bayar so she can forgive them. He apologizes for disturbing Chang'an's cultivation and says it's the younger generation that did it, and they are apologizing, hoping that Chang'an will forgive them. He commands his fellow sect members to also come and bow to Chang'an so he will forgive them. They all kneel to bed. He manipulates Chang'an, saying that he hopes he will forgive the villain and leave the younger generations so the younger generations and make a living. All the younger generations bow before Chang'an, and they hit their heads on the floor to apologize. He feels bad for what he has done. He feels guilty as he hears them beg him to release them. However, it turns out he understands how Q Kyantu is trying to manipulate him. He asks him if they are indeed a decent sect and says he remembers the trick Q Kyantu had just used on him, just now that it is overwhelming. He asks Q Kyantu if he thinks he is blind, and when Q Kyantu realizes that his tricks aren't working, he asks all his sect members to go against Chang'an and kill him. Since they are in his territory, Chang'an kills them with one hit. He gets several sets of 50 field values, and at the end, he gains 450 field values. During the distraction, Q Kyantu escapes and runs away. Bayar notices that Q Kyantu has escaped, and she calls Chang'an attention to it. She tells him it's not good that he has escaped because he will reveal the news of the immortal treasure, and the treasure hunters will be rushing in at every second. She asks Chang'an what they should do. Chang'an also thinks of what to do, but he also knows he needs more enemies so he can increase his domain, so they should come. Q Kyantu arrives at the Ghostbone sect with just one intention, which is for him to find the Supreme Elder. He plans to tell the Supreme Elder about Chang'an so they can kill him and personally retrieve the immortal treasure. However, it turns out he isn't the only one with worries, as there is something more important waiting for him at the sect, even more than the one he is bringing. One of the sect members screams his name repeatedly. He gets angry, asking the boy why he is yelling. The boy explains to him that one of their ancestors, who has ascended to immortality about 5 years ago, has visited, and they are all meeting with the Supreme Leader. Out of them all, Q Kyantu is the only one who hasn't arrived. Q Kyantu can't understand why an ancestor should be visiting them, and even if he is visiting, why is he visiting at this time? Regardless, he also prepares to join his colleagues at the feet of the Supreme Elder. They all meet at the Ghostbone sect ancestral temple. He bows by the feet of the Elder, apologizing because he is late. When the ancestor arrives, he feels terrible pressure. The Supreme Elder informs them that the immortal is under the order of the Lord to come to the lower realm. Q Kyantu wonders why the Lord would command an immortal who has ascended to return to the lower realm. The Supreme Lord tells them that the immortal who has joined them that day is the strongest person in the Ghostbone sect. He has existed for so long, even longer than the period of the nascent soul realm. The Supreme Lord is excited that if that ancestor can be sent to the lower realm to help them, then it is no longer a dream that they can dominate the entire world. Without an invitation, the ancestor badges into their midst. The power and energy are so large that they almost destroy everyone. Even the Supreme Lord is terrified by his strength, and he calls out his name. The ancestor tells them he doesn't care about them dominating the whole world and not his mission to the lower world. He tells the Supreme Lord that they should put away those selfish little thoughts that are in their mind, and they should put together their strength to work with him. He warns that if they keep mentioning the idea of domination, he will destroy them. They all bow before the ancestor and tell him they have heard his command. Back to the business of the day, the reason the ancestor has visited in the first place, and I'm sure you can all assume what it is. It's this immortal sword. He tells them that before he had arrived in the lower world, the holy sword has fallen from the upper world, and their task was to find the holy sword that had left the upper world for the lower world the day before he came. That's a great opportunity for Q Kyantu to shine. At least he knows where the holy sword is, so he stands up and addresses the ancestor. He tells the ancestor that he knows where the holy sword is, and the anger in the eyes of the ancestor is obvious. He screams at Q Kyantu, asking him to tell them where the sword is immediately, and Q Kyantu tells them the sword is at the Immortal Temple. Meanwhile, Chang'an and Bayar don't know how much they are being sought after at the moment. They remain at their temple, and they eat. Bayar asks her master if the food she has prepared is delicious, and he tells her that she should put more salt in her meal the next time. But that meal isn't bad too. He has more worries in his mind. His invincible domain is already 22 meters, and although the range has become larger, the food the domain can still pick is still limited, so he still needs to ask Bayar to get them food. He thinks of his growth when he first gained the domain. He only had the ability to fight in the Invincible domain, but he doesn't have the ability to control the domain. He was just an ordinary person in perception, but after he upgraded the domain once, he gained the skill called All Living Things, and since then, he has been able to control the domain, and his perception gradually became sharper. He knows that even if he is invincible in the domain, outside the domain, he is just an ordinary person, and he can't protect Bayar. He looks at her as she eats happily, and he gets worried that she won't be able to protect herself. Her cultivation level is still very low, and he wonders if there is a way she can increase her level so she can at least protect herself too. He looks at the weed creature that he had created, and he picks a point from it, since the All Living Thing skill can transform the vitality of all things, and can transform an ordinary weed into a spiritual grass, and even give birth to a spirit. He feels he can use the skill to also increase Bayar cultivation level. He calls Bayar and he drags her to come with him. She wonders why he is that violent with her, but he tells her he wants to teach her a new technique. He holds her in front of him with his 2 hands and tells her he has found a way in which she can improve her cultivation, although the step will be quite painful at first, but as long as she endures the pain, she will feel good, as if she is ascending to heaven. She thinks about what he has said. She has been concentrating on his face, so she doesn't get him well. However, she wonders if he is talking about dual cultivation. She misunderstands the technique he is talking about and tells him she feels that their progress is too fast. She claims that it's her first time, and it's not good for her. Her body turns red as though she is blushing. What she is thinking in her mind is obvious, but that's not what her master means. She tells him that she wants her first time to be romantic and sweet, and she hits him to leave her. He calls her back, telling her that she shouldn't be afraid and there will always be a first time. She still refuses, but when he recalls that she had promised to do anything he wants as his disciple, she calms down and tells him that she is ready for whatever he wants to do to her. He is also proud of her. He tells her that she is worthy of being his disciple. He tells her she must restrain her mind during the process and hold on, otherwise she will risk her life. She is prepared for all he wants to do to her even though she has misunderstood his intention. Looking at the things he is doing and how he tells her that if she doesn't concentrate, she may lose her life, she realizes she has gotten the wrong thoughts and calls out for him. Before he answers her questions, he puts his hand on her forehead and tells her to concentrate. There are great changes in the environment, and after a few minutes, he asks her how she is feeling. She tells him that she is feeling crispy. She is shocked because she had thought he wanted to have intercourse with her. She humbly confronts him, asking him that so all he wanted was to help her practice. He tells her yes and asks her what else she is thinking, but she couldn't say her thoughts out. He goes for another round of concentration, telling her that he needs to step up his efforts and carefully feel the energy that is sent into her body from his body. She also feels his energy. It is so good that she feels like her body is filling up with energy. As a result of all of Chang'en's effort, he tries to check the system to see if she has leveled up. He gets a notification that she is still in the 6th level of foundation building, and she hasn't leveled up a bit. He is disappointed as he wonders why there is no sign of improvement in Bayar's level after all of his efforts. He doesn't want to give up, and he decides to try harder. He tries to pour more energy into her. She screams that she can't take it anymore, but he tells her to hang in there so he can do his duty. He taps her head, and she feels ticklish. She screams and tells him that what he is doing hurts her so much, and she can't take it anymore. She bursts into tears, telling him that her body is about to burst with energy. She begs him to stop the process, but he tells her to hold on. He tells her that the bow has no turning back, and all she needs to do is to be patient for a short while, and she will be reborn as a complete person. She tells him that she can no longer hold the energy that she is feeling and she will die. While in the blink of death, she remembers the times she trains with her father and the disadvantages that come with it. She remembers how her father asked her if she doesn't want to become strong with indomitable powers and if she couldn't withhold the bitterness of excess training for a short while so she can be as strong as she wants to be. She remembers training in tears and in her weak state. She screams that she will die as she remembers her father's words telling her that if she wants to be strong, she has to have a strong physique, because the 9 sects will be handed over to her in the future, and there is no way they can put the future of that great sect into the hand of a weakling. She screams that she can't afford to die at that moment, and she has to become strong even if there is no other reason. She has to become strong so she can inherit the 9-sword sect. She regains great power, and this power emits like red light around her. As she is about to fall off, he goes nearer to her and holds her. He carries her on his hands as she tells him she wants to practice with him till the end of the world. She floats in the air, her great powers open the sky becomes dark, and after she takes this great power, she falls on the floor. He goes to hold her, and she asks him if he thinks she is dead. He has her in his hand and asks her how she is doing. She looks at him happily, telling him that she is still alive and she persevered through all the hardship she faced. He looks at her and thinks that the continent has a total of 9 levels of qualification, and it has been rumored that there are 10 levels after that 9 levels. He wonders how many grades she can be upgraded to through the washing of all creatures. She remains on his hands as they do not know that there are intruders in their temple. Several creatures fall from the sky, and they comment that despite their presence, the duo are still kissing and making out. Demon King Hongyi of the Nascent Soul looks below her, and she sees the demons trooping into the mountain. She sees that the thunderstorms are attacking the big mountain, and she wonders if it could be caused by the immortal treasure that had fallen into the mountain the night before. Demon King Taobai of the Nascent Soul also admits to what she is thinking. He tells her that the thunderstorm is such a terrifying one, and if it hits him, it may even kill him despite his great strength and class. Demon King Snake, the inverse of the Nascent Soul, on the other hand, is concerned that the Phaeaxian mountain may turn into ashes if the thunder strikes completely. Irrespective of how concerned they are, they decide that they should keep calm and observe what is going to happen first. When Bayar is still in the sky, and heaven opens with a great thunderstorm, Chang'an confesses that he has sorted out the power of the thunder tribulations. He has put it into Bayar, so she must remain in the sky and absorb the power of thunder tribulation. She is to absorb more after continuous exercise. She tells him she will do as he has commanded her, and the Demon King watches from afar as they see that the terrible thunder has subsided. They are shocked that that kind of thunder can actually pass, and they think it is unbelievable. They look further to find out what's happening differently, and they see that there is someone in the middle of the thunder tribulation. After they check, they see the person is a young girl. They refuse to believe what they have seen because that thunder is one which could even kill them if they stand in the middle of it. They wonder if the treasure that has fallen into that island is actually psychic. They call the humans their cheats, and they claim to kill them, so when the thunder eventually disperses, they have just an intention, which is for them to go down and confirm what they have watched. When they look at her, they see that she isn't a spirit, but she is human. She also looks so young, and she can't be more than 18 years old, yet she has reached such a high level. The female Demon King says that she no longer wants to get the immortal treasure for herself, and she wants to fight for Bayar instead of the immortal treasure. The system sends several notifications about Bayar's growth to Chang'an. He first gets the notification that she has broken through from the 6th level to the 7th level, and he has gotten a 50 field value. She breaks through repeatedly, and she gives her master 50 field values about 5 times before she upgrades to giving him 100 field values, and he gets that twice. She is still meditating. In the air, as the Demon Kings look at her, they say that she spiritually breathes inwardly, and her body is exquisite and unskilled. She had survived the thunder tribulations in front of them, and now she is surviving the ghost state. They declare that she is pure talent, and if she is cultivated, she will be more valuable than the immortal treasure that they are there to find. The female Demon King refuses to let the other two take Bayar. She jumps ahead of them, telling them that Bayar is her disciple, and they should leave Bayar for her. The bull demon drags her back. He asks her how she expects him to let her take such a big advantage. He claims that he also doesn't want the immortal treasure again, and he wants Bayar, but the female demon protests. She asks the bull demon what he wants to teach Bayar and claims that the cultivation of her celestial demon and ancient fox clan is the best training Bayar needs. The snake demon king doesn't want to let Bayar go too. He screams and says it isn't easy for them to meet that kind of talent, and he doesn't want to miss that opportunity. He leaves the female demon and the bull demon to keep arguing and fighting while he runs to get Bayar for himself. The female demon notices him, she calls out for him and tells him to stop. But he refuses to stop. To be ahead of the fight, he tells her that they should fight for the girl, and the winner takes it all, and the loser eats shit. The snake demon changes into a snake, the female demon changes into a fire-branded demon, and the bull demon into a bull. They both threaten to kill each other, but the bull demon realizes that it isn't worth the fight. There is no reason they are fighting over Bayar when they can allow her to choose who she wants from them. He advises that they should ask Bayar directly to pick who she wants on the condition that when she chooses a person, no other person is allowed to snatch her away. That sounds like a great idea, and they all agree. Meanwhile, Bayar and her master keep training. He asks her if she is awake and how she is feeling, and she tells him that she has broken through the 3rd level of the golden core. He appreciates her for her good work and compliments her that she is worthy of being a great talent sharpened by the hands of her master. He tells her to keep going for it, and with no time, she will break through the nascent soul level. She is glad that she can do that good. The golden core cultivation is already at the same level as the elders of the 9 sword sect, and she is breaking through it easily. She wonders if she is dreaming about all that is happening to her or if it is real. She remembers that Chang'an says she will break through nascent soul, but she gets terrified. She asks him if he wants her to keep training and break through nascent soul, reminding him that she has just broken through the golden core. He gives her some rings, telling her it's her reward for her hard work. She looks at the ring, and she sees that they are familiar. She sees it's Lai Zio's storage rings. She asks why he has given them to her, telling him that the cultivation resources are comparable to half of the Nine Sword sect. She asks why he is giving it to her, and he tells her he doesn't like it. It's unfortunate that he is unable to cultivate because of how he is made. But he knows that if he remains in the domain, he will be safe. He wonders if he is a god, which is why he can't use the cultivation instruments. His goal is to expand his domain to the entire mountain, and the 800 field value he has gotten is not enough. The demons eventually come to their attention. They call out for Bayar, and when Chang'an and Bayar notice them, they introduce themselves as demons. The bull demon first introduces himself, Chuobayi, the firstborn demon king. He shows her the 3 golden pellets condensed from the essence of the great demon body. He tells her he will give them to her if she worships him as her master, telling her there is a chance she will break through the nascent soul if she takes it, and there is no way she can reject that gift. The snake demon tries to convince her with her gifts, too. She shows her the immortal fruit of youth and tells her it is 1,000 years of blossom, and it takes 10,000 years for the fruit to grow. If she takes it from her, she will live forever, and there is only one of that fruit in the lower world. If she becomes his disciple, he will give it to her. The offer of living forever is tempting, but Bayar doesn't want to accept it. Chang'an also knows that fruit. He remembers that the fruit the older man told him would change his physique if he takes it. He notices that Bayar also drooled when she saw the fruit. Bayar considers the idea of staying young forever. She thinks it's not impossible to think about. She is swayed but doesn't know what to do. The snake demon's intention for bringing the fruit to the lower world is to give it to Hongyi, but using it to get a great disciple isn't a bad idea. The female demon, Hongyi, doesn't have any worship gift to offer Bayar but claims that if Bayar accepts her, she will accept Bayar as a righteous daughter, then she will be in honor of the celestial demon ancient fox sect, and with the power of the sect, Bayar will attain immortality. They ask her who she wants to follow, but she tells them she isn't following any of them. She tells them that she already has a master, and by following the master, she may not become immortal, but she may become a god because her master is the best. They scream at her, asking her who is her master, and Chang'an introduces himself as her master. He looks powerless with no cultivation base, so they don't know how he deserves to have such a strong disciple. They ask him how he feels he is her master and how a mere mortal with no power can take a Golden Core Realm member as his disciple. They claim he must have seen Bayar as a young girl and had deceived her into becoming his disciple. The snake demon suggests that Chang'an is just an ant and they should kill him and take the girl. The bull demon gets angry and he challenges Chang'an. He tells him that if he thinks he can be Bayar's master, then he should fight them. Bayar convinces them that her master isn't an ordinary person as they think and that without him, she won't be anywhere, but Chang'an is actually interested in a fight. He tells them to come nearer so they will enter his domain. The bull demon challenges Chang'an first, while the other demons are angry that he has gone before them and has denied them the opportunity to show Bayar how strong they are. The bull demon threatens that with one of his fingers, Chang'an will change into dust, but to his shock, he keeps pushing Chang'an, but Chang'an doesn't move. Chang'an mocks him. He asks him if he hasn't eaten all day and tells him that since he has been pushing, he hasn't moved a bit. He tells the other demon kings if they also want to try him. He goes to fight Taobai and he hits him with just a finger. The snake demon looks at Chang'an, wondering how strong he is. He wonders how Chang'an can use just a finger to push almighty Taobai, who is the most powerful demon body out of them. Hongyi looks at Chang'an. She feels he must have a greater cultivation spirit than her own for him to have kicked the iron plate with just a finger. Chang'an addresses the other 2 demons. He tells them Taobai can no longer test him, but if the other 2 are ready to test him, then they can come too. He asks them what they think now and if he is indeed qualified to be Bayar's master. The snake demon speaks first and calls him senior. He tells him that he is naturally qualified to be Bayar's master, and it's them who aren't qualified at all. The snake demon accepts their fault for disturbing his comfort and says that since he had disturbed him, he will give him the immortal fruit as an apology for disturbing him. He looks at them, and he feels like the snake demon is witty, but since he doesn't have any servant in his hands to help him, why doesn't he take the 3 of them as his disciple? The snake demon assumes that since Chang'an isn't responding to them, he must want to kill them. Chang'an responds. He takes the fruit from the snake demon and asks him where he got it from. The snake demon informs him that the fruit was obtained from the ancient bronze mountain in the Fengzhou Life Mountain Zone about 3,000 years ago by the ancestors of the Great Python sect. It's just that the immortal came down to take the face reciting immortal tree away when it was discovered. So except for that one in Chang'an's hand, there is no other immortal fruit in the lower world again. Chang'an thinks about where the fruit was found. It's the ancient bronze mountain in Fengzhou. He remembers that the longevity sect is also in the ancient bronze mountain and also the forbidden area. He didn't expect that there are things from the upper world still hidden in the lower world. The snake demon thinks of the probability of him leaving that temple alive. He assumes that since Chang'an has accepted the fruit and he has even told Chang'an where the fruit was found, even if his cultivation level is at the god level, he should still spare him. Chang'an turns and looks at Bayar. He tells her she should eat the fruit and leave the core for him. She accepts it happily and tells him thanks. She eats it, and her body metamorphoses. He looks at her trying to consider what is going on with her, and assumes that since her body has more contents, it's metamorphosing. He assumes that his old man is right when he says that the fruit could transform an ordinary body into an extraordinary one. She finishes and gives him the core. He assumes that he will be able to cultivate with the core. He tries to put the core in the ground, hoping it will grow. The snake demon tells him that the fruit is an immortal fruit from the immortal tree which grows in the upper world, and its growing environment is very important, so even if the temple is a treasured place, he still doesn't think it's suitable for the tree to grow. Hongyi also tells him that it's an immortal tree and it can't be planted by just digging a hole. To their shock, they see the tree growing immediately. He tells them that he plants melons to get melons, he plants peas to get peas, and if he wants an immortal fruit, he will plant one to get another. Hongyi figures that they are the clowns, not Chang'an. Chang'an tells them that one immortal fruit isn't enough for them to appease him about their trespass, so he asks them what he should do to them. They bow to him and beg him. They say it's their fault, and they are willing to accept any punishment he gives them. He then accepts to give them a chance. He tells them it's either they submit to him or they will die. He acts like he is strong, so he will get them to submit to him. Taobi submits first. He says he is ready to submit and serve Chang'an. Hongyi and the snake demon also submit to him, and he accepts them as his disciples. He tells them that since they have submitted to him, they have to call him a master in future. He claims that he won't treat them badly, and he will even give them welcome gifts. He uses his power on them, and they immediately see that their qualification is increasing. The higher world gets angry at Chang'an, and one of them says that Chang'an could be allowed to change the future of just a person, but it is an overreach if he is trying to change the future of 3 people at once. The thunderstorm tribulations begin again. It upgrades the qualification of the new disciples and their power increases. The heavenly body finds it difficult to stop the thunder tribulation. The disciples are also scared that the thunder could kill them, but he tells them not to panic, telling them that he is in it. They see that the power of the thunderstorm is tempering with their bodies, and their injuries are healing. After the thunder finishes, they all come down. He appreciates them for upgrading their subordinate qualification and asks them how many levels they have upgraded to. The snake demon informs him that they have to use the talent stone test for them to know how much they have upgraded. He brings out the stone and sees it's black. Their last qualification was 6th grade 1, and now they have all upgraded to the 8th grade. They are so glad, but he tells them to calm down. He explains that they are only in the 8th grade, and if they serve him well, he will upgrade them to the 9th grade. They bow to him, telling him that they will do their best in serving him so he can upgrade them. Bayar gets jealous. He tells Chang'an that she was previously in 4th grade, and now they have upgraded to 8th grade before her. Hongyi brings her the talent stone and tells her she can also use the talent stone to find out her new grade. Chang'an thinks of the level Bayar could have. He says that he only used a little of all living things skills for the demons, and they got to 8th grade but with Bayar. He didn't retain any of her powers, so he wonders what level she could be at. When she checks it, the time first changes to the color gold, which is the 9th grade, and it then disappears. The demons wonder why the grade has disappeared, while Bayar cries to Chang'an to know why. The snake demon suggests that it could be because Bayar is now immortal. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word part 2. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.